Welcome back to the studio. This is Lagos Talks 91.3 FM. Definitely, my name is Oluwakayode. We're excited to have you join us this morning. I said earlier on that we will be getting into a conversation with a very important personality, a conversation that dates back to sometime last week when we started hearing some news about some events that happened. You know, the media was awash last week with reports of Nigeria showing at the inaugural Times Higher Education Sub-Saharan Africa University ranking, which took place in Ghana. You know, there are two schools of thought in Nigeria regarding our performance at this, this ranking. Now, there are those who say our outing was awful, considering the fact that our University of Ibadan was one of the best back in the year, even amongst the Commonwealth and, of nations, ranking so high amongst universities globally. And so why should we be celebrating this recent ranking? There are also those that believe that, listen, looking at where we come from, we're used to talking down the quality of university education in Nigeria, which in fairness has been plagued with endless strikes, back end sales of handouts, sex for grade accusations, and many other scandals. And having a Nigerian university rank amongst the top 10 universities in Africa is a far departure from our infamous status. Now, these are the two schools of thought that have come up. But let's get a better understanding of Nigeria's university education. My guest this morning is the man at the helm of affairs at the university institution, which made us proud in Accra, where the maiden edition of the Times Higher Education Sub-Saharan Africa University ranking took place. Professor Abiodun Adebayo is an elected member of the governing body of Association of African Universities, AAU. He was also elected into the governing council of the Association of Commonwealth Universities, where he serves as a council member and trustee. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Young Academy and the Chartered Institute of Administration. He's also a professor of plant biochemistry and biochemical toxicology. Wow. In the College of Science, and we're having back joining us, Professor Abiodun Adebayo. Thank you for joining us and good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. It's my pleasure to be on this show this morning.
Great, great. And talking about your school, it's okay for us to say congratulations on your achievements as the 7th best university in Africa.
Thank you so much.
How did that make you feel when you were announced as the 7th best university in Africa?
Well, first, all glory must go to God because we see ourselves as not the one behind every happening at Covenant University. God indeed is the founder, God indeed is the founder, and God indeed is the runner. So we must give all the glory back to God. Okay. Well, for us at Covenant University, we feel highly elated. And but mind you, if you look at any of those rankings, Covenant has always been at the top. Covenant has always been at the top. So this one is also not coming as a surprise because of what we believe in as a university. We are very intentional in our approach towards university education. So when we came into the university education back in 2002, we just marked our 20th anniversary last year. We are so intentional about it because we gave it the whole approach and because we are giving a kind of holistic approach towards education in Africa. So we are very intentional in our vision, mission, and our departure philosophy. All of these have been clearly defined in what we term as a division of the university in raising a new generation of leaders. And one of the things we want to approach and in terms of educational mandate is to see how the battered image of Africa can be redeemed. And we said it in the day one, and we must appreciate the invaluable role of the Chancellor and Chairman Board of Regents, Dr. David Oyedepo, who has been at the front line in driving this vision. And so we want to see how Africa will be emancipated from the the current challenge that is going through. And so this ranking coming is also a testament, is also a validation to what we believe as a university. So we are so excited at what God is doing in Covenant University.
All right, great. And I like the way you balanced it out, saying there is the role of God who has made it possible for all this to happen. And there are steps you are taking as individuals, as a university, as the board, as administrators, to make sure that your university turns out the way it has right now. Now, looking at all you said you keep talking about Africa, mentioning Africa, a holistic approach towards quality education in Africa, how to save Africa from this. And now a lot of schools have big dreams. A lot of schools are working towards being the best. How is it possible for, I don't know if to call you a second generation or a third generation university, because you have the likes of the UI, the Nnamdi Azikiwe, and the OAU, then you have the LASU, your generation of universities. What are you doing specifically to make sure that you stand out in spite of all the bigger challenges, from other universities that exist?
Well, we have clearly x-rayed the challenges of the university education in Africa, even before we came up into the education industry. And we found out quite a lot of issues and challenges. And that's what formed our own departure philosophy. And for instance, quality education, it's what we believe in as a university. And we ensure that quality education, and this is what is actually lacking behind. Now, a situation whereby, ASU, the unions, trade unions, whether academic or non-academic, will go on strike for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, even the recent one, about 8 months. So that means that doors to knowledge have been shut down. Doors to research have been shut down. Doors to quality education have been shut down for 8 months. How do you want to balance that up at the moment? And so that's why I say we are very intentional in our approach. We can tell when our graduates were coming, and we can equally tell when our graduates will be graduating. And so this is the hallmark of what a world-class university should stand for. And it's so unfortunate that the public universities, have not been adequately funded by the government. And only recently we heard about the student loans scheme that is going to be introduced. We hope that if that is properly managed, that will also push in the effect in providing the needed fund to run the education. Mind you, that's on the student side. What about funding towards the research, funding towards providing the enabling environment for the students to equally study at school? So all of this, it's what Covenant University have clearly provided in the university here, and that has allowed for quality learning and giving the kind of life applicable education that we equally give here at Covenant University.
All right, you've spoken about the challenges with funding being a major issue, a major reason Nigerian universities are not performing well, and also the erratic nature of the timetable, the structure, not knowing when the university education will be the start and end time or the period of study for the students. But beyond these two, are there other activities or actions that we're taking in Nigeria that is making our schools lack? Because it's brilliant to have your school, but just like South Africa was first, they were second, Tanzania was third, South Africa was fourth again, I think they were fifth, Rwanda was sixth, and you had about 4 South African universities within the top 5. It would have been nice to have Covenant and other universities. So beyond these two, what other things are we doing wrong that is making it impossible for us to rank?
Well, thank you so much. I want to say here that our curriculum needs to be more holistic and more friendly and more industry ready. Yeah, I'm glad that the CCMAS, that is the core curriculum minimum academic standard that NUC is championing, it's also going to also be able to provide this if it is driven, if the intention of the stakeholders are also driven in ensuring that that is also delivered. I want to let you know that the kind of what you provide determines how much the students will be able to apply. So, and the way it is equally delivered also matters a lot. Now, if you look at our curriculum here in Covenant University, which it's actually making our graduates to be different, is such that it is very holistic. We brought in some indigenous programs, courses, that is helping our graduates to secure and making them, giving them a very good platform and giving them a place at the job place. Now, what's this? We introduced what is known as the entrepreneurship development studies, and that's making them entrepreneurial inclined in all they do. Now, that alone, a number of them get job even before they graduate. A number of them also, they start their own, have their own startup business and startup companies even before they are household companies today. So I think that's one of the aspects we need to do. Instead of them looking for job, let them be job creators. Instead of them looking for somebody to employ them, let them be the ones employing others. If we do this, that's also going to be very helpful. And just to let you know that Covenant provided that platform that NUC curriculum is currently using today, and is currently using the Nigerian university system as we speak, because of that and because of the approach to our entrepreneurial education here at Covenant. Now, next,
when you say you provided the platform that NUC is using, what platform are you referring to in particular?
I'm talking about the curriculum.
Okay.
The curriculum for entrepreneurial development studies today. That's what NUC had to replicate in all the Nigerian university systems. But it all started here at Covenant University. Now, another thing that we might need to also, that we have also introduced into the educational system, is the fact that we bring in, because it's not just enough to teach these students. So are you also talking about life after school? What are you looking at? For instance, we package a course known as Towards a Total Graduate here. And this course brings in element of leadership. This course brings in elements of character building. This talk brings in element of life after school, your married and your marital life, and giving them a holistic approach. For instance, how do you appear before an interview panel? How do you appear before the public? So all of these have been so intentional. We have intentionally packaged our curriculum to ensure that it fits into the work of the student. And lastly, we also develop what is known as the leadership development course today. That's that our students, aside getting their degrees, maybe mathematics, first degree in mathematics, second degree, degrees in physics or any course of study here, they end up getting a diploma in leadership. Because we know today, leadership is our crisis in Africa. Come down home, it is a major challenge in Nigeria as I speak to you. So we have also packaged our students in such a way that they take leadership to give them a leverage in the world of works and even within the society.
All right. Now you've spoken about the curriculum, and we spoke about the core curriculum minimum academic standards, which the NUC is proposing. But there have been kind of rebuttal from the ASU. ASU has raised some red flags regarding this. Are you aware of that?
Sure, I am.
And what do you say to this red flag? And if you can just highlight it, are they realistic? Is it something that we should consider, or why has it come up?
Well, maybe not. It might not be the best platform to me to speak, but I'm glad that NUC has equally replied that the situation of ASU with respect to the CCMAS. But I must say here that as vice chancellors, we all had input into that curriculum. Professors of the university had input in that curriculum. It has been ongoing for the past 5 years. Question now is that why is it now when it is about to be implemented? You see, when you talk about regulation of the university system, NUC has been saddled with such. If, for instance, before now, what we have is to just take all of the 100% courses that NUC will design for everybody to say. There is no input from the University Senate. But now NUC is now saying 70% will come from them and 30% should now come from the university. So for me, I think, they might need to clearly look at that, and they might need to have a clear understanding of what that CC mass will have for us, because we can now provide our other indigenous courses approved by the Senate of each university for that 30%. But the 70% is from the National University Commission. And originally it used to be 100%, and you just have to buy into it. They had no previous input from the University Senate on curriculum matters. But now they are giving you 30%. And I'm sure, very shortly, I'm sure they are going to give the universities the goal 100% if they are starting with 30% at the moment. So for us, I think it's a good way for us to start.
All right. And now you spoke about funding at some point as well. How, looking at the current state of the nation and the complaints that government have regarding access to funds now, and seeing how education has been managed in Nigeria over the years, where we have to construct roads, the roads are not getting enough money, we're not even considering education at all, or very little attention is paid to that. How would you advise public schools are funded? And when I say public schools, I'm not just looking at universities owned by the federal government, which is often the mistakes. What about the state-owned universities, some of whom appear to not exist? How can these schools be funded?
Thank you so much. Now, by virtue of my training as a faculty, lecturer, researcher, I've traveled wide and I've seen what happens in other crimes. Now, you see, if we are able to stem the tide of corruption, I tell you, and this money is channeled into education, there is no way government will completely pull out from funding education. It's never done in any country. It's never done. Government will just have to provide the enabling environment, provide electricity, for instance. As a researcher, you are still battling with, using generators to power. How much can that? Now, with the removal of fuel subsidy, a lot of things have really gone up. And so how do you want to sustain electricity? Without electricity, there's no way you can have any meaningful research. So the truth is that government will need to take its rightful place. Government will need to provide the enabling. We're not saying you should give it all. 100% should come from government. No. Give electricity, for instance. Provide adequate infrastructure, for instance. Give good road network with the universities. And why not provide bursaries for those who may not be able to fund that, then, and allow the other, maybe the guardians and the parents to also take part of the remaining ones. I can tell you that Nigeria's university system, or education generally in Nigeria, whether at the lowest level and to the highest level, will also be in Singapore. For instance, in China, it provided the enabling platform. The government funds education in China, even up to the basic level. Then for the indigent, they have also provided institutes, other universities, where they also made it public. But you go to those public universities, they are, in fact, what they pay is not just is a token. Okay. But however, you cannot compare it with the kind of university we run here. So again, the bulk of it comes from the foreign and international students that come to such universities to study, while the locals will not pay as much as they pay. So governments still need to come in, must provide the enabling environment, we must stem the tide of corruption in Nigeria, so that all of these monies that are being stolen can be channeled into education, can be channeled into power, can be channeled into other sectors of the economy. Then we are going to get the Nigerian education system right.
That works. All right. So government cannot entirely, excuse itself from funding of
Sure.
education.
Sure.
But I mean, all we need to do is provide the enabling environment and make Nigeria work. Now, just about 2 more questions, because we know you have to leave for another meeting. And now, looking at these rankings that happen times, higher education, I think we have the Oxford, there are a couple of rankings that come up regularly. Now, do this ranking really matter? That's the first question. Secondly, do this ranking actually reflect the state of education in this global education, or let's say we'll focus on Africa right now. In Africa, I mean, looking at yourself, do you feel that you deserve more than the 7th, or you feel, well, these other universities, they have a bit more than us, so 7th is okay by us?
Yeah, thank you so much, Kayode. Yeah, the truth is this. What this ranking system has done is to give visibility to the university education and the universities and institutions that are being run. Now, can you imagine, remove Nigeria from the first 10? I mean, Covenant from the first 10, Nigeria will not be there. I was privileged to be right there at in Ghana, Accra, Ghana, last week when this was announced. It was only the first 10 that was announced.
Wow.
The first 10. And they announced country by country. Assuming Covenant is not there, Nigeria will not be there. So we are talking about, okay, look at the South African system of education, for instance. Government provides what is the education, they provide the research. The National Research Fund is there for every researcher to assess from. If you meet the parameter, you apply for it and you get it.
You don't need to know anybody.
You don't need to know anybody. Man no man does not work there. So, but the truth is that why are we not replicating what is working? So what you have found is clearly a definition of, you know, the quality of education in some certain countries, in some certain quarters. And that's why you have 4 South African universities ranked top 10.
Yeah, top 10, yeah. And it's even shocking to have Rwanda ranked 8th, and you have Uganda, I think Uganda was the 5th. And I'm wondering, what really, I'm not denigrating any nation, but when Nigeria universities
it's to also let you know, this is to let you know the decadence in the level of education in some African nations. Now, what we are talking about the ranking, what are they ranking us on? They are ranking us on ability to provide resource and finance, ability to have access to and fairness. They are equally ranking on the teaching skills. They are equally ranking on student engagement. Mind you, this ranking also involved the students. They sent questionnaires to students. And they send their feedback directly to THE. So that's why this is different from the other rankings, to also get the feedback from the end user that at this time around the students.
Consumers, yeah.
So they are the consumer, they are the ones also rating the lecturers, they are the ones rating the facilities of the university. So in terms of fairness of this, I think it is. They will tell you the way it is. They will tell the story the way it is. Because they are there. Then the last ranking parameter, because there are just 5 parameters, is the African impact. Okay. African impact talks about ability, you know, how are you collaborating in terms of research? How much documents do you have? How much publications do you equally have? How are you interacting with African versus African within the community? Are you also, is there any partnership you are equally doing to ensure that African universities are equally, you know, with African peers? And what about mobility and all of that? So these are things that they are ranking. And I feel that it is good enough. Yes, we are 7 today. That does not mean it accepts us to know where we are, so we can get to number 1 in the next ranking.
Wow. Professor Abiodun Humphrey Adebayo, thank you so much for your time this morning, for making our time to be with us here.
It's my pleasure this morning to be with you.
And I'm actually, I am awed by your field, biochemical toxicology. And I'm just wondering, we have all those professors with very strange, difficult to mention specializations, yet our nation is not developing. What is going on, Professor Adebayo?
Yeah, well, the truth is this. If you look at the population of Nigeria today, I think as at the last count, we're told we still have we're running about 200 million population. And if you also look at the challenges that we must confront, so 1, 2, 3 may not be sufficient enough to be able to quench that. If we have more persons coming in with the right thinking, the right mindset, I think we'll be able to scale this and we'll be able to move forward as a nation. So it's not enough. If you look at Nigerian university systems today, today we have 259 universities in Nigeria, but yet we still have so many challenges with access to university education. So what's the challenge? So it's a multifaceted thing that I think if we get the right leaders in place, I think if we get the right set of people come to take some leadership responsibilities, we will be able to move this nation forward. It's all about leadership. That's the challenge we have in Nigeria. Just put the right person in the right position, who knows how to do, who is free from corruption, who has the state at heart, who is ready to change some things. I tell you, you have solved the 50% of Nigeria's challenge. Everybody will just align, everybody will just keep into it. Thank you.
All right. Professor Adebayo, thank you for your time and do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me.
And congrats to Covenant once again.
Thank you so much.